I think that's the last piece, guys. That's literally the last piece that everybody was looking for from Gawain. The claw. To the cavern. That's the next chapter. How far are we? Jesus Christ, okay. So this... I think it's all about Vincent here. Or, quote unquote, it's not really Vincent. It's Arthur. Brother Bernard shook his head wildly and threw his weight against the base of the chair. A leg squealed, gouging a scratch on the floor. No, you mock me. There is no such creature. How can you speak of such things in this place? Vincent looked at the fallen knapsack. Give me your water. What? Your flagon. Bernard shook his head. Vincent dropped down and tore at the buckles. Watch, he said, uncorking the flagon and tipping it until the water lapped the neck. He dabbed the point of the dragon's claw into it, then spread the crumpled paper on the floor and proceeded to write the letter G on its reverse. A gentle breeze brings forth a kind of ichor. The colder the water, the better the flow. Ichor? The blood of the gods? Lord preserve us. Bernard turned away with a hand to his head. Now he understood why the abbot was concerned. Brother Vincent had clearly turned quietly mad. I found it years after meditation, said Vincent. Day after day I pleaded for an answer. One night it appeared, there, in the center of this floor, lit by a light of a distant star. Brother, you must pray with me, Bernard beseeched him. He fell to his knees and began to beg for mercy and understanding. But this is my prayer, Vincent insisted. He knelt opposite Bernard and shook him into silence. With this I have touched the heart of the universe. I have uncovered that which cannot be seen. I have brought forth life where there was only clay. I have looked through the eyes of God. No! Bernard shouted. This is blasphemy! Delusion! Your mind has taken leave of its senses. What proof do you have that what you say is real? Cheer! went the scroll. Brother Vincent smiled, for there was the answer. His name is Snigger. You will find him in the early body of my texts. I brought him here through space and time. The raven... He looked absently towards the north. The raven is a messenger of love from the north. I must leave here, Bernard said, turning left and right in search of the hatch. Please return with me, brother. Let the abbot, let the church redeem your soul. Brother Vincent laughed. On the 14th day of this month the world will change. A new dimension will open to us all, a chance for all souls to find redemption. Bernard shook his head. I can prove it, said Vincent with steel in his voice. 10 minutes, brother. 10 minutes that will change your grasp on reality. Beneath the weight of his habit and the scapula which covered it, Bernard felt the quickening thump of his heart. Vincent crossed the floor and lifted the hatch. Follow me, he said, descending swiftly. In a matter of strides he was through the door and heading toward the cliffs. Where are we going? Bernard shouted, struggling with the pace and the breath-snatching whistle of the coastal wind. Vincent walked on and did not turn. Suddenly he was gone from view, stumbling down a man-made path, which slanted through a wet dune and onto a narrow beach covered with rubble from the cliffs above. The sea, as if taunted and enraged by his presence, crashed against the rocks and threw spray into his face. Still, he walked on, crossing the stones with a jaunty balance, resembling a puppet suspended on strings. He was sitting on a ledge at the mouth of a cavern when Bernard finally caught up. Well? Cried Bernard, struggling against the snarl of the sea. Closer, Vincent shouted, beckoning to him. Bernard lifted his habit and looked for a step, but long before his leg was off the ground his heart was firmly in his mouth. From within the cavern he could hear a sound, a low guttural rumbling cry, an animal of some sort, a large wild creature. He crossed himself and urinated down his leg. The voice was like nothing he had heard on Gurf's earth. It went. Well, we know where Grockle is now. Grockle is in the UK. In Scotland. Brother Bernard Augustus had been an historian all his life, from school through the best theological college, and now, here as librarian of Farlow Abbey, he had documented many interesting studies, and knew that this island had once been the centre of a myth surrounding the wrath of a dragon. Long ago, too long for records to be kept, and therefore confined to the hearsay of centuries, it was said that a dragon had nested on the site of the ruined bell tower where the original priory had stood. Fearful of her presence, 2 monks had climbed up into the belfry and oiled the staples of the unused bells, freeing each clapper without a sound. Waiting for a stormy night, a night so bitterly condensed with rain that a whole wing of dragons would be worthless of flame, the abbot had ordered the bells to be tolled. The clatter had driven the mother from her nest. The monks, hidden in the shadows of the balustrades, had heaped up and pierced her egg with spears. The mother, witnessing this dreadful act, had unlatched her jaw and issued a scream that had shaken the tower and split it asunder. The crash of stone brought every bell down. The abbot had been covered by the largest of them, trapped underneath like a wasp in a jar. Only then did the mother dragon descend, mantling her giant wings against the rain, before releasing a boiling flame that melted the brass and the abbot with it, until they flowed like the yolk of her unborn young. Until that day on the rocks by the cavern, Brother Bernard had told himself that stories like these were invented by charlatans and religious scaremongers. Now, with the ocean cooling his feet, spreading his solemnity up through his bones, he believed every word. His perception of truth, as Brother Vincent had suggested, had changed forever. He had seen a demon. We're not a demon. We dragons are not demons, for Pete's sake. We're not. Anyway, the creature, squatting, was probably no bigger than a very large dog, but each time it gave out its savage growl, the bellows of its lungs would lift its shoulders and its wings would arch into folded peaks. It was a monster, as tall as a teenage child when it stretched its ugly, scaly knees. He shuddered at the sight of its blade-like talons, as long again as the toes that grew out of it. And its face, its hideous pointed face, those repeating teeth, those rolling yellow eyes, laced with capillaries of bright green blood, centers darker than the wells of space. Magnificent, isn't he? Vincent said. He dipped behind a rock and threw a limp hair at the dragon's feet. Holding the kill with a single talon, it used the other foot to tear the skin apart. Brother Bernard vomited onto the rocks, and swept the sea to wash away the stains. Bernard wiped his mouth clear of the bile, but the agonies in his mind were not easy to cleanse. Where did it come from? Why is it here? What wickedness brought it into this world? Brother Vincent adopted the pose of a saint. Why do you fear him, brother? He is a gift of creation, a protector of the earth, a child no more than a few months old. He has flown here in search of his ancestors' claw, and is recovering from a journey long and harsh. Look at his flank, injured but healing. During his flight he struck into a line of electrical cables and was almost killed. For days, until hunger drove him forth, he had to take refuge on an old church spire, assuming the stillness and guise of a gargoyle. His powers of survival and adaptation are remarkable. I learned yesterday that he has the capacity to draw the blood from the surface of his scales until they turn the color of... Stop! Hands lodged against his brow. Brother Bernard rocked to the swell of the ocean. It ails me enough to see you abiding by this beast. How can you speak as if you know it, as though it was some kind of pet? The fires of hell are in its belly. This child will grow and kill us all. Vincent shook his head. The creature has no fire. its birth was misgoverned, and it fell into a stasis resembling stone. It was revived by extraordinary means, and came here to find salvation and purpose. For me, he is a miracle of universal consciousness. I wrote of him, and he appeared. Bernard shot a glance at the dragon again. Grackle, it rumbled, tilting its head. Its amber eyes swiveled and focused upon him. The choice between loathing and understanding seemed too wide to breach for a moment. Nevertheless, for the sake of his brother's soul, Bernard Augustus knew he must try. Tell me, in plain words, how this came to be. Did you conjure this creature, or is it real? Vincent picked up a petal and threw it to the sea. For 10 long years I have suffered, he said, trying to understand why Elizabeth betrayed me. I begged the Lord to show me a motive, and he, in his mercy, sent me that claw. I had no idea what it was at first, but Elizabeth had always believed in dragons, and that was all the reason I needed to assume it was no ordinary talon. When I touched it, I felt inspired. My only thought was to write with it, and once I discovered a strange proclivity for producing an endless supply of ink, I began to work on a story. I let the claw guide my hand, always believing that what was written would be the will and compassion of God. Soon I was documenting Elizabeth's life with her then-grown daughter in a place called Scrubley. The story led me far and wide, from suburban America to the wasteland of the Arctic, but always staying connected to an ancient world of dragons. I assumed that the only purpose of this venture was to build something noble from the ashes of my sorrow, a means to alleviate the welter of my grief. But as the writing took me over, there came a revelation. In time, I wrote of a procedure through which a child, touched by the spirit of a dragon, could be delivered from an egg kindled by a human mother, without the need for a human father. Brother Bernard closed his eyes. Suddenly, light returned to my soul. Oh my god. Sorry, I just dropped the... I started finding more than amusement in the story. I began to find hope. Its world developed and drew me in. As the pages flew by, I knew I had created something far greater than a shelter for my hurt. A legend so convincing that in my mind I had reached out and touched a new reality. Even before this dragon appeared, I knew that Elizabeth's love for me was pure. He turned his head and looked at the baby dragon, grazing its teeth against the side of the cavern. Now I know for certain. Brother Bernard steepled his fingers, shaking them as if to make a cocktail of his words. You are saying you were recording true events even though you thought at the time it was fiction? Vincent threw another hair to the dragon. His role in the story was to seek out the claw. You see him before you. Here is your proof. How can that be? The laws of physics, all wrong, said Vincent. Misunderstood. Consciousness binds the universe in a vast, invisible realm which physicists label dark matter. With the aid of this claw, I have been able to access the realm and change the universe from within. A cloud rumbled across the sun, sending out the first hard shrapnel of rainfall. Brother Bernard found it a welcoming relief, for his skin was beginning to simmer with sweat. Dark matter. The words were the essence of turpitude and evil. Nightmares were tranquil compared to this. How? He said, as though he swallowed a boulder. How can you change the order of things? Vincent raised his cowl against the rain. One day, I tried an experiment. Went back to a section of my manuscript and altered it. I wrote that a squirrel, captured by the villainess who deceived me and turned me away from Elizabeth, had escaped through a narrow wormhole in space. The squirrel in the folly? Yes. Until then, I had no idea that the claw had the power to alter matter or the flow of time. But this is merely coincidence, Bernard rasped. He threw out his hands. The scroll might have come from anywhere. You are a tide's lap away from a dragon, brother. How can you possibly deny what you see? There is no such thing as coincidence. But if this were so, Bernard paused, becoming flustered. He shook a raindrop off his nose as he searched for his words. If this were so, such a power would be... He shook his head, unable to face the outcome of his thoughts. He looked up in great fear. How does the story end? With him, said Vincent, nodding at the dragon, who was now retiring back into a shelter. In the darkness there is a fire star shining. In a few days' time it will reach its zenith. When it does, he will fly the claw north to a dragon, waiting like him to be reborn. Bear with me 1 second. And you, said Bernard, what will you do? Brother Vincent spread his hands and caught the rain in his palms. I will go home to Elizabeth, he said. My. So not only do we have David who can write stories, we now have Vincent, aka Arthur, who can write the same sort of stories like David. But it seems to me his ability seems to be more developed than David's. That's what it sounds like, by the way. Right, let me take a sip of drink. Oh, this is only 3 pages long. Okay. Weird. Asleep in the folly, 2 a.m. In the beginning was the Alma, and the Alma was all there was. All things were visible then. There was no future. There was no past. There was only the now, and the Alma was the now. For an unknown time, in an unknown space, the Alma existed as a pure white fire. Then, for no reason, there was no reason, it began to expand. And time began. The Alma reached out, filling no space, for there was no space for the Alma to fill. But in time, it reached out to such an extent that holes appeared in its innermost structure. Into the holes came a new energy, darkness, and a binding force which the Alma knew as gravity. With gravity, the Alma reshaped itself, folding in, billowing out, making nothing at first but ripples and contours and patterns of light. Thus it explored the nature of geometry, finding stability in aspect and symmetry and ratio and mass. And in time the Alma gained in mass, and gathering itself assumed a figure. And the figure it assumed was a perfect winged creature, and the creature was a dragon. And her name was Goddess. By now darkness was all around. Goddess spread her wings far into the void, and knew she could no longer touch her own eternity. So she decided to replicate herself, to reclaim the space she alone had created. She turned inward, then to the fire within, and in one immeasurable instant of time she opened her mouth and spoke the first word. And the word flew out to every corner of the universe, and this is how the world began. The sea raged, the rain beat down, darkness shrouded the small stone folly. On the first floor, underneath a blanket of burlap, the monk who had taken the name Brother Vincent dreamed of a gold-rimmed pocket watch. The dream was always the same. The hands of the watch were always traveling backward, quickening into a spinning blur. In the glass he could see time passing. 10 years of prayer. 10 years of solitude. 10 years of life without Elizabeth. When the hands stopped, she was always there. Her flashing green eyes, her soft red hair, cradling a child that belonged to them both. It was a girl, and when he reached out and touched her hand, her tiny pink fingers would curl around his thumb, and there was joy in his heart and truth and light. Light. It swam above him. Through the voiles of his eyelids, it pushed the night aside. There was a clink of metal, or was it glass? Vibration in the floorboards, footfall. How? His eyes half flickered. There was Brother Bernard, kneeling by the window, still muttering softly in prayer. When the thunder broke and the rain had come, shattering the air in a wall of leaden drops, he had chosen to shelter here in the folly. For 6 long hours he had asked his Lord in heaven for guidance. He had come in the form of Abbot Hugo. "Wake him," the abbot's voice said. Vincent rolled over. 6 of the order, 2 with lanterns swinging on poles. "What is this?" he said. He flashed a glance at Brother Bernard. A green light flickered off a small silver object in the fat monk's palm. It was a cell phone. "No!" Vincent launched himself toward the trapdoor, but was caught by Brother Malcolm Cornelius, an ex-marine, a man of great strength. "Do not make me tie you," the abbot said, images of lanterns in his sad brown eyes. "We have the beast captured and bound." "You don't know what you're doing. Set him free," said Vincent, so fraught with anger that the words left his mouth on a bubble of froth. Brother Bernard, crying tears of remorse, crossed himself. Abbot, Brother Peter, a monk with too little skin for his cheeks and the posture of a vulture, from the shoulder blades up, stepped into view. In his hands was a wooden box. He opened the lid to reveal a stack of papers. This was in the roof space, hidden by burlap. Abbot Hugo nodded. He removed the top sheet and read the first words, "Housing available." His brow creased into a puzzled frown. "We searched your cell," he said to Brother Vincent, who was tugging without hope against the grip of Brother Malcolm. "There were only blank papers in your desk. You lied to me, brother, to protect this miscreant you found in the caverns." "Please," Vincent begged. "A few more days and the creature will be gone." The abbot's disbelief was barely hidden as he said, "Where to, brother?" "The Arctic wilderness. If you stop this, we are all endangered." Abbot Hugo tilted his head, his beard brushing through the neck strings of his cowl. With a sigh, he dropped the sheet back into the box and gestured Brother Peter to take it away. He studied Brother Vincent with a mixture of compassion, suspicion, and regret. Mostly regret. He stepped up close enough to whisper in the young man's ear. "What has become of you, Arthur?" he said. Vincent whispered back, "For the love of God, give the claw to the dragon." Abbot Hugo stood away and switched his gaze to Brother Malcolm. "Take him to the abbey and lock him in his cell." For God's sake, you should have just kept your mouth shut, Vincent. If this was so important for Grockle to leave to go to the north, then you should have just kept your mouth shut and just... Oh my god. I swear to days. Rawr! Right, the next chapter is Tooth of Ragnar, same day. She was a mile out to sea, or rather out to ice, trying to establish where the dragon's head lay in relation to the snow-packed contours of the island, when the Fane arrived. It could not be seen, but she felt it approach. So fast, so close, there was no time to react. Nothing had ever scared her more. She looked to the sky. The star was bright, but not yet shining on the summit of the island. Her calculations were not inaccurate. How and then had the Fane come through the portal? "Why are you here?" Oh, hold on. Is this... Ha, it's Golana. Fucking hell, her tone of voice. How then had the Fane come through the portal? "Why are you here? What do you want?" The wind moaned and swept about her feet. "Take a form," she snapped. "Let me see you." The ice creaked. Her skin began to prickle. Commingling, the thing was inspecting her. "I am Fane, like you, one of the old ones." The air pulsed, pressing against her eyes. "We can help one another. Our purpose is the same. All I want is to bring the dragons back." Her blood surged. Her nerve ends crackled. Cold boomed in the tunnels of her ears. Then It was within her, one with her, the Fane. It filled her limbs, raised her hairs, flowed between the crevices of her toes. Highly evolved, superior, a killer. Why is a dragon made stone? It said, plugging directly into her brain. She had one chance before it finished her. Change. Its tear was stolen, she said through thought. It paused to consider the truth of this, and in its rest, its lapse of concentration, she became a raven and broke herself free. 10 wing beats, that's all she's got. And she banked toward the island, her fingertips froze. Her beak tipped and she plummeted down. Her bird brain hummed as the Fane returned. Where's the dragon's fire? It said. Caw! She snorted, her last act of defiance. Then she was extinguished. Glassy-eyed, inert. Guilana, the Sybil of ancient ages, now a raven sealed in a block of ice. Oh my god! Shiro! I have to write it down that I have to do another punishment wheel. Thank you. God's sake. Right. Punishment wheel. I have to write it down because Red has to be the one to do it because I don't have the list. Because if I have the list, then I would have been manipulating it. Punishment wheel. Yay! I'll show you what the punishment wheel is. So, let me just go to ditch chatting. So, the punishment wheel, okay, is this little thing here with numbers, which I don't know what these numbers mean. Okay? Now, if it falls on any of these numbers, for every 5 gifted subs, it means that any of these can be something that I can consume that is good or consume that is really, really bad. Now, I had vinegar, I had brown sauce, I had sweet chili, I had pickled sauce, which is pickles and whatnot. Because some of the numbers, first of all, the numbers are scrambled. They're not in line, and according to Red, we're still using the wheel that has still 21 options on it. Yeah, one of them could be fish sauce, one of them can be soy sauce, it could be mustard, it could be lemon curd and all these things. So I don't know what it is. Red has made this list. So what I will have to do now is I will actually have to roll the dice, or quote unquote roll the wheel. And I have to write it down. 22. Okay, so I have to write it down. Shiro, I will be doing number 22 when Red is home. He's not going to be home in another 3 hours, so I have to write it down. So we're going to put it all together. Now, I had Inventor coming in and decided to do a lot of chaos, and I had to have 6 sauces, which 2 of them were good and 4 of them were really bad. Like, really, really bad. Why does the number 2 sound disappointing? Because I have to be the one to eat everything. That's why it's every number it falls upon, it makes a very depressing sound. I don't think we have any mustard. I don't think he's bought any mustard for this one. But I don't like mustard. I can tell you that for a fact. I don't like brown sauce, and I'm sorry. I am so sorry for all the British people out there. I don't like brown sauce. I cannot understand how so empowering brown sauce, like very powerful brown sauce, you can enjoy with sausages. I don't understand. It's so overpowering. You don't taste the sausages anymore. You only taste the brown sauce. Why? You don't want to taste the pork or the pork anymore? Hey PD, as far as the giveaways, I gonna assume I didn't win anything when I left the other day. No, so not a lot of people submitted their tickets, so we went only for medium. You still have large tickets, So you still got 6 large tickets. So, yeah. So we only did the medium because we had a lot more people for medium. At the moment, we only have... Azriel had 3 tickets, but he hasn't told me where he wants to distribute it. Raikon has redeemed 1 ticket. He has not told me where he wants to distribute it, either small, medium, or large. You have 6 in large. Ow! Ow! So if you guys are redeeming dragon tickets, you have to let me know where you want to distribute them. Do you want them in the small, medium, or large? So yeah, if there's more people for the large and all this thing, Shara, I will be putting your name in it. So we want to taste brown sauce and not cheap daddy's brown sauce. Oh, sure, going for another ticket, right? Mushy Mushy, where do you want to distribute your tickets? Do you want the tickets in small, medium, or large? 1, 2, 3, 4. No one there. Oh my god, you guys are going quick here. 5. So now you got 11 tickets, Shiro. Medium and large. Med and large. Okay. So you got 3 tickets, I believe, Mushy Mushy, was it? Or no, 4. Sorry, 4. You've got 4. Yeah, 4 tickets. 2 and 2. That's fine. 6 more I want in medium. Okay, 6 more in medium. Right. You need to redeem 1 more ticket, I believe, Shiro. Because I think you got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5... No, 6. Oh, you already got 6. Right, that's fine. That's my fault. Curate. So 6 large and 6 medium. Medium. Yeah, it's alright, Shiro. This 7. You, like I said, there's not really much problem here. Let me just write down Mushy Mushy. How many tickets do you have, my dear darling? You have 4. You said, what was it? 2 for med and 2 for large. Okay. Might as well use all my points. Okay, so you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you got 7 tickets there, Kirai. So where would you like to distribute them? Do you want them in small, medium, or large? You can do, for example, you want 2 in small, 3 in medium, or whatever. That's gonna take me a while if I use all my points. Jeez. Well, that's why I don't mind people lurking. That's why I don't mind people lurking, anyways. So you guys can get enough dragon points. I have 5.8k. Jesus Christ. So you're good. You're good. I don't normally hit the little green collection thing. So Kira, random. I'm fine with whatever. Okay, so we just distribute what? 2, 4. Well, actually, 2, 2. I don't either. Well, what I've done with yours, Mushy, was the 2 for 2 large, 2 mediums. Shiro, you've got 2 large, 2 mediums, and plus 1 left. Where did you want the last one? Did you want medium or large? Okay, doke. I cannot. For the love of God, I cannot calculate. So if you're happy with this, Kirai, we can put 2 in small, 2 in medium, and 3 in large. If you're happy with that. And this might officially have like 1.5 million. I bet and lost 2 million. Oh my god, what? Why would you do that? Why? Oh my god. 2 small, 2 medium, and 2 large, and 3 large, sorry, large. Okay, so Kira, you've got 2 small, 2 medium, and 3 large. Then Mushimushi, you got 2 medium and 2 large. Shiro, you got 6 large and 6 medium, plus 1 additional one. So it's up to you if you want to add it to any of those ones. Who else? That's about it, actually. Because Raikon still hasn't come back to me, and Azura still hasn't come back to me, so we'll have to wait for those guys to actually submit it. But yeah, Jello won the first large prize, Mr. Scoot won the first medium prize, then Arion won the second medium prize, and then Tia won the third medium prize, so there's 2 left. I'm going to collect 1 more ticket shortly after, since I always do stuff in even numbers. That's absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine. No worries for that one. Because I will always let you guys know if you guys won or not. So, yeah. Solvay didn't submit any more tickets. Shadow hasn't submitted any more tickets. Shiro has. Tia has a 1. Bastion hasn't submitted any. Azrael still waiting on a response, and Raikon still needs a response, so... Right. And I've got my punishment, number 22, that I will have to receive when Red is home, because he has this, he has that secret list that I don't know about. So, yay for that one. Oh my goodness. Right, I even need to eat stuff. I even numbers. I mean, I get it. I completely understand. Okay, so let me just go to game scene. Because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do some art. Oh, excuse me. Oh, excuse me again. Oh, God. Yeah, that's me having a hiccup. And no, my hiccups are not cute. Stop it. Stop it. Stop that. They're not cute.